Hello there, welcome back to my channel. So this is a Valentine's Day special, and I was hoping to share a portion of my decks from my collection that embody kind of a love aspect to them. And these are decks that I would normally pair to use in discussing the topic of love. Some of these decks I have been working with up till now, mid-February. And a couple of them I have not worked with, but I will likely put them in my rotation for the latter half of February and also work with them. So yeah, just sit back, relax, and enjoy taking a look at the decks that I've chosen to work with for February in honor of Valentine's Day and in honor of loving yourself for Valentine's Day or loving another. Because Valentine's Day doesn't have to be about other people. It can be about, showing yourself love, romanticizing your life, doing something for yourself to boost your happiness, self-esteem, and just overall love of life or love for others in a non-romantic form. And I think at the end of this, I may be doing a little spread. Not sure what the prompt will be yet, but I'll likely do a spread at the end. I kind of like doing spreads so that you can possibly do them with me if you want, and then see what you get as well in using your chosen tarot deck. So I hope you enjoy. The first deck that I'm starting with is this Goddess Love Oracle. This Goddess Love Oracle is one of the decks that I have not worked into my rotation of deck using, but as I was going through my collection, I did see this deck as something that I want to work with before February is over. I think this comes also with a Goddess Dream Oracle, so I didn't include that here, but normally I would use both the Goddess Love Oracle and the Goddess Dream Oracle together because they're fairly small decks. But I'm just going to show you the Goddess Love Oracle. It's definitely has kind of a Nordic aesthetic to it that I really enjoy. I feel like this would be more of like a self-love deck because the messages tend to be geared more towards loving yourself. Like for instance, this card, love, be free from all that holds you back. Nurturance, restore your balance. So this would primarily be about giving yourself the love you may need and spending that time with yourself. Calmness, let things settle. It has a very dreamy quality to it. It's very gentle. Ignite, release your potential. I try to look for oracle decks that might offer something a little different from other oracle decks so that I'm not seeing the same messages over and over in just different decks with different artwork. So I do feel like this deck has a very unique appeal to it, and not only the artwork and the imagery, but also the messages. This is literal sleep, slow down, which is pretty common, although you wouldn't normally see sleep in most oracle decks. You would see like rest instead. So stillness, be calm and quiet. Dedication, your challenges will reap rewards. Wisdom, remember. Safety, you are held. So these are just very loving, nurturing messages. Love your body, let your beauty radiate out. Sanctuary, connect to your inner strength. Joy, embrace the blessing of life. And you can see like all the hearts everywhere. So this deck is, I feel like, appropriately placed in February, just for the love aspect, loving yourself aspect of it, but also quite a bit of spring flavor. Just the animals are waking up and the barren trees are waking up, and everything's kind of still sleeping in February because it's still a wintry month, but it's a cozy month, right? Because sometimes February is one of the coldest months of the year. So this deck kind of embodies a lot of that, but a lot of like springtime energy of the animals, especially bunny rabbits is quite abundant in this deck. So that transition between winter and spring, it has a lot of that energy in this deck. Here's a good one. Compassion, you are loved unconditionally. Companionship, you are not alone. Previous videos I mentioned my dog passing, and January was kind of a difficult month. I did take a break from, well, I read a little bit of tarot and oracle, but not as much as I had been doing. And I realized I was using tarot and oracle a lot for coping while he was still alive. So yeah, I think February just kind of was getting back into the swing of using decks. And so this is one that I hope that I can work into the latter half of the month. This is the Goddess Love Oracle by Wendy Andrew, and she also has a Goddess Dream Oracle, and the book is great. I mean, the messages are you know, they're deep. They're not standard messages. They even offer like a daily practice, which is pretty interesting. Like for, actually, we just turn to love, be free from all that holds you back. And the goddess inspired daily practice is take away mirrors, remove magazines, websites, mobile apps, or anything in your life that projects bodily image. Use the next week for exploring the feelings and sensations in your body without the illusion that love and pleasure are purely physical. Spend time listening to your body and hearing what it is asking for without judgment. Treat your body with all the kindness it deserves. If you find yourself getting caught up with having to look a certain way, bring your attention towards a pleasurable sensation. You notice within you instead. Your body is beautiful, so use this week to really feel and honor it. And for the longest time, I'm nearly 40, but I've always felt somewhat disconnected from my body for various reasons. And I think just within the last year or two, I've finally been able to try to reconnect with that part of myself, because I've never had a connection with my physical body. So, I mean, that is a part of loving yourself. That is something that I think for Valentine's Day, just having that thought of paying more attention to my body, which actually I have been doing all day. So consider it like practicing it. And yeah, that's a good thing. So Goddess Love Oracle is a great February deck for multiple reasons. Let's see. This is a deck that I bought this pouch for off of Etsy. Let me see here. So it comes in this plain tuck box. This is the Art Occultist Tarot. And the link to find this deck is right here. You can see there's a YouTube creator the Art Occultist, who speaks about tarot, and this is her deck that she made that I purchased online. And this deck is that more romantic feel for February. I kind of see the month of February is having this very like Mediterranean, romantic, Victorian feel to it. And there's just something very romantic about using this deck, especially around Valentine's Day. As a matter of fact, there's a Cupid right there. Maybe that has something to do with it. But I think this deck is like a celebration of like being human, you know, what it is to be human and to be naked. And it seemed like over time, even though we're like more of a modern society, we tend to clothe ourselves more than a lot of these paintings and the art of centuries past used to depict people. So there were times in centuries past where it was very common to paint and sculpt people naked. But, you know, these days we actually don't portray ourselves as naked to the public as we could. I mean, in certain media platforms, yes, but generally that's not considered like a form of art. It's more of a taboo engagement. So I think having a deck like this featuring this very old artwork, you know, of humans being able to bear it all as part of their sensuality and showcasing their sexuality and just their romantic side is perfect for February and to use around Valentine's Day. So, I mean, there are a lot of decks out there that feature a lot of this similar artwork and just renamed in different, so maybe like this wouldn't be considered the world card. This could be considered like a lover's card or an empress card of some sort. But no matter what, these type of decks that include this type of art from this era is gonna have that same essence, that February Valentine's loving, romanticizing sensuality and sexuality and being human with your clothes on or with your clothes off. So this is the Art Occultist Tarot, a deck I love using, a deck I've been working with. Even the color palette is very soothing and calming. And yeah, I think I mentioned the Persephone one. I forgot the name, but that's another deck out there by another YouTube creator. And that's also has a similar vibe, but a different aim. And it's still a really beautiful deck. It's very deep and soulful, this deck, I feel like. You know, it can be interpreted as a little morose, a little sad and dark, but then also very empowering and, you know, there's like some grit and raw to the images. Very thoughtful. Okay, so the next one, kind of going along the lines of this deck that I just showed you, is the Lover's Path Tarot. And nothing says Valentine's Day and love like the Lover's Path Tarot. So if you're in a relationship, I think this would be more of a relationship deck rather than a self-love deck. And this is by Chris Walder, published through US Games. I think this one has like a similar vibe to the last one, but my personal preference in using this deck is more for the scenic expressions rather than the people expressions. And it also has a very like watery vibe to it, which I appreciate. Cupid is the Prince of Arrows. Romeo and Juliet is tradition, here labeled. So now we're already getting into some Valentine I don't know what terminology, I guess. Primarily, I just love this deck for its scenic expression. I mean, that's the best I can put it here, but I wouldn't say it has a romantic quality, but more of a dreamy quality. And you know, February, the month of the Aquarius astrological sign. Aquarius is also a very watery sign, so I think this deck would be great for using it in an Aquarius astrological context. So I haven't been working with this deck for too long. I don't know it as well. I think because using it does take a little extra effort to read about the symbology in it, and to kind of go a little further than just interpreting the tarot, actually connecting it to the mythology. So it's not one that I've used as much as I've used some of my other decks. But again, for February, I have been working with it a little bit, and it's really beautiful to use. I love it. And I like to think I'm a mythology buff, but I'm completely not. I try to read about mythology, and it just doesn't really, it's got a lot of detail, a lot of names, a lot of places, a lot of facts, or mythological facts, as much as facts can be. But a little too much detail overload for me to really dive in and study the same way that I might study tarot or astrology. Or other metaphysical concepts. So I'm not at all knowledgeable of mythology. I may know some of the mythological gods and goddesses that are mentioned, and a little bit of the backstory, but if you're into mythology, then I think you would probably jive with this deck in a way that you can connect mythology to tarot a lot better. But yeah, so this is one I'm using for February. I think it's a great deck in honor of Valentine's Day as well. And it's so cool to look at too. I mean, it's just really different. Okay. All right. That's the Lover's Path Tarot. Okay, so let's look at the Menagerie of Love. This is a 60 card oracle deck. It's actually published by Bliss Young. I'm not sure if she puts this out. It was a personal project of hers, and she had an extra one that she gave to me. So it's an oracle deck. The feeling I get from this deck is we're thinking marble statues. And marble statues tend to be very cold, but very romantic. And so I think this would be considered a collage deck, definitely. So this card, looking to the past. Hindsight is 2020. Don't let past mistakes keep you stuck. Have compassion for yourself and begin looking forward. You are worth it. You are worthy. And you can see here, this is a good example of these sort of marble, white, cold-looking statues. This hard-looking statue contrasted with these rose petal overlay and background. So this to me is a very marbly deck, is what I would say. But a A lot of the themes featured in this deck relate to love and different types of love. Like for instance, agape, pure universal love for everyone, selfless, charitable, unconditional, self-sacrificing, epitome of love. That is one type of love there. And we have trust or distrust. Look within without any biases. Release the cognitive dissonance by thinking of a loved one in your place. Trust your intuition on how you feel about the person or situation. So because these are primarily like really old statues, kind of paired with some modern like neon signs, you know, it just has a very quirky feel to it. So I love pulling a card from here and then expanding the card that I pull with an oracle and tarot as well. Emotionally unavailable, core values, philia is another type of love, friendship, love, mutually affectionate, love between friends and family, equal love, trusting, platonic, respectful, and authentic. Ludus, a player's love, whimsical and fickle, surface level, playful, full of games, jests, infatuation, and flirting. Relax and rejuvenate. Transformation. Secret admirer. Broken heart. Very soon. Relationship growth. So as you can see, this is a very love heavy deck. Gifts, forgiveness, finances. She included some blank ones that you can fill in your own if you want. If you feel like there's something missing. Panic, who's chasing who? Ooh, limerence. Are they true perfection or a figment of your imagination, created to fix the wrongs of your past and heal the open wounds in your soul? Magic. Dove. Mask. Courting. Cutting ties. Are you being treated fairly? Rely on your intuition. Focus on whether you need to cut ties with a pattern or person. Storage. Storage is parental love between child and parent. Innate love, natural, instinctual, familial. Mania. Xenia. Xenia is hospital love for an acquaintance. Societal expectation to be kind to those around you. Courtesy, politeness, hosting, gift giving. Stop looking for now. Abundance of choices. Divine timing. Enjoy the moment. Unresolved issues. Family issues. Discernment. So I love this deck because it just covers a wide variety of love concepts. This is a sunk cost fallacy. Priorities. Eros. This is beautiful. I think this statue is in the, there's is it the Forever Cemetery in Hollywood? Somewhere there. But I went to go see a concert at this cemetery, and this statue's in that cemetery. So pretty cool. But yeah, this is like my only love deck, like fully dedicated love deck. I have two more that I would consider Valentine's Day, love yourself, love another deck. And so the next one is the popular Tarot of Mystical Moments, and this is popular for good reason. I think this one to me embodies a little bit of not just like Valentine's Day and love, but also a good February deck. I think an Aquarius deck. This to me has a lot of water. It also has a lot of air too, so it could be a good air element deck. But it's also, I think, a very good Aquarius deck. There's a lot of blues, and all the blues and cool colors, you know, lean towards air and water signs. But the thing about Aquarius is, in February too, is the magical quality of it. You know, everything has died from winter, and it's kind of on the brink of you know, the sun's starting to come out more, and maybe some plants might be waking up at this time. And February just has like this very whimsical quality to it, dreamy quality. And it's actually one of my favorite months besides November, which is my birthday month. My mom's an Aquarius, and she's super quirky. I would say this deck definitely embodies her. If I was to pick a deck to read for her, it would be this. Just because it's a little bit like offbeat and super abstract, and she's like the type of person that comes up with like really random ideas, just some things that you wouldn't ever think of. And she's like a spitfire for creativity and just creative ideas, even if they don't always make sense. She's like, if you need an idea person, she would be the idea person. Of course, like maybe 90% of those ideas you would think were a little bit going too far. But yeah, so this deck definitely embodies her. And she's an Aquarius, born on February 16th, so it's 2 days after Valentine's Day. And so this has kind of the Valentine Day romantic aesthetic to it. It's dreamy. It's a little bit old century, but it's abstract and quirky, and you know, it's a cool deck. And if you're an Aquarius, let me know if this is like a deck that you love using, one of your favorite decks, if this would embody you as a water sign. So I've definitely been using this deck for quite a while, and it's one of my favorites. So that's the Tarot of Mystical Moments, a very popular deck. I don't even think I need to show you the book. The messages in here are not as long, but they're super informative, and they just kind of sum up things very like succinctly and direct. So you don't really need much in order to read with this deck. And anything else you would like to draw from the deck, you can definitely get from the images. It's not hard to kind of extend the interpretation of the cards from looking at the images. So you can draw a lot from this deck, which I think is pretty cool. So I just have one more, and that is the Modern Love Tarot by Ethany. And this is one of my favorite decks because unlike a lot of the ones that I've shown so far, this deck is more of a modern deck, hence Modern Love Tarot. It's a very relatable deck. The other ones tend to be more of a romantic, dreamy, whimsical quality, and this one's a little bit more everyday, I would say. So for this one, it's purely just that I like the illustrations. And it does focus on love as part of its central theme. This one's just fun to work with, I think. It's cool. There's a Cleopatra card, or what embodies a Cleopatra card, and the Hierophant. I think there was a Cleopatra card in the Lover's Path Tarot as well. So interesting that it was included here. And this eye here, I'm not like familiar about the symbol as far as like in-depth knowledge, but I think there is a deck out there that's like a symbology deck or a symbols deck, and it has this on the cover of that deck. So I think this is called Modern Love because it does a very good job of depicting modern love arrangements and different types of love, and expressing that. So this is like a dominatrix expression of love. You see here the love of exchanging gifts. Well, like being different from each other and exchanging gifts as a form of connection between two different people. This is a great card. Kind of reminds me a little of Dita Von Teese. But this is a different form of love, a different expression of love. Another different expression of love. This is parent to child. And in that other previous oracle deck that I went to, the Menagerie of Love, this one that I went through, you know, the oracle that actually went through the different types of love, the different types of love. You know, this deck actually expresses the different types of love. And the challenges that we have in love and connecting with others. Love is not easy, right? Whether it's a romantic love for another, love for self, love in a platonic sense, love of siblings, parental love. The artwork in this is stunning. So this one's just fun because it's relatable and it kind of grounds you in the present. Love for our pets. Love for self. This is like a spiritual love. Love of family. And here, interestingly, the full card depicts this picture in the back the one that I had shown you in the, what was it? Oh, the Art Occultist Tarot. This picture is a very famous picture, common, of Venus. And so, yeah, it's pretty cool that it's depicted here as the Fool. Yeah. Being the Fool in love, having open arms, and kind of like surrendering and giving yourself to love in general. So yeah, this is such a relatable deck. The Modern Love Tarot by Anthony. The book is very chunky. It does break up the messages into like ready for love, dating, committed relationship, struggling relationship, the end, a general love meaning, and single and loving it. So there's a lot you can do with this in the context of love. So I said I had two more, but I forgot that I had two more on top of two more. So just briefly, this is the Amor Psyche Oracle. This is also a love deck. I don't know if you're noticing a pattern as to the decks that I see as romantic and loving tend to have very similar artwork. But this one is great as an oracle for love relationships. It's also, I remember using this deck and feeling like, wow, this kind of like hits a little hard. It's very honest, and it's not always like what you want to hear, or at least that was for me at that time that I was pulling cards from this deck. But it's also got that mythological essence to it. This is physical attraction, a loving gaze, beyond words. Sorry for the nudity. It's a little bit more tantric than some of the other love decks that I showed. Lover's embrace, taking the plunge, balance and unity. So there's a lot of nakedness in this deck. Uninhibited and released. Eros and Thanatos. I'm really tired, so please excuse my attempts at pronouncing these. Unrequited desire, body positive, sweet surrender, loving yourself, longing and desire, standing alone, the game of love, and the warrior of love, seeking pleasure, doubt and indecision, full intimacy, the charm of simplicity. So as you can see, this deck heavily relies on kind of like a couple love, because it goes a little deeper into the connections between two or more people in a romantic aspect, or a I think romantic is the best term to use. I don't think there's another term that I can use to kind of like bridge that, but it's more of like love that you have between people who take it past just familial love or friendship love. So yeah, that's the more Psyche oracle. Okay, last but not least, in heavy contrast to that last oracle deck that was super revealing and super romantic and super sensual and sexual and naked, we have the Heart Speaks. And The Heart Speaks is 49 Prompts for Loving Your Life, created and curated by Ruth Davis. I picked this up from a bookshop. I forgot where actually this bookshop was. And I'm not sure if I've seen it around very much. But it comes with like a directions card. It does have the chakras, colors here. What else? So it says to ask, what do I need right now, in the form of like loving yourself. So I think what we could do is probably pull a card. This deck has many different artists in this deck who curated this artwork. And I think I trimmed this. I might have trimmed it to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a card before I show you this deck. What do I need right now? And if you have a deck that is your February or Valentine's Day deck, the one that gives you that kind of vibe, the essence, it's a more of a love for yourself question, how you can give back to yourself in this month and make it a priority. You can do this along with me and ask, what do I need right now? And see what your heart speaks. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out because it just made itself a little bit more well known. And wow, perfect. So I got B. Being means just showing up, willing to sit with yourself, with your situation, not do anything except be with it and be in it. And that is definitely something that I feel like has been what I'm naturally been coming to, is the practicing the concept of just being, because I was always doing, and I was always planning, and I was always looking ahead, and I was always putting things in motion to kind of get things going. And for once in my life, this past year, I think even maybe a few months ago, I said, I really feel like life is trying to teach me how to just be in this time. Because the more I push for things to happen, the more I push for that job that I really want, or push for a family, or traveling, or even just making a video, the more I push, the more it starts to like work against me, because there's a natural flow to things, and there's a time and place for everyone to act or rest. And I think I've been learning to just be and practice that, because I've never taken the chance to really practice that in a conscious, intentional way. So I said I was going to do like a little reading at the end that you can do with me. And I'm going to go ahead and do that at this time. Well, maybe I'll show you some of the cards, and then I'll go ahead and do a reading. I'll just set this B card to the side, and then I'll show you some of the other ones that are in this deck. So we have Wander, Truth, Nourish, Revel, Boundary. So this is definitely a deck that you can use to work with yourself. Play, Notice, and this, targets the relationship you have with yourself. How good is that relationship that you have with yourself before you're able to give to others and have a relationship with others? Really take a step back and assess your relationship with yourself. For instance, choice. Often we can't change a situation or another person's behavior, but we can choose how we respond. Let's see, patience, breathe, share. So there's some kind of common ones that you might see. Faith, spark, and then there's also like some more uncommon ones like wonder. What are you curious about? What holds your attention? What fills you with awe and excitement? So these are great journaling cards as well. Pause, savor, flow, focus, balance, congruence. You can't be a millionaire if you don't like to balance your checkbook. Are your dreams in alignment with your beliefs and actions? This deck, I think, helps put things into concrete terms, take them out of my head, my planning default mode, and put them into concrete reality. And even if they're like really small steps, practice. The keys to building strength and endurance with any new activity are consistency, frequency, and increasing the level of activity each time. And so this deck offers great reminders for, sometimes I know personally I can get hooked on like big concepts and just disconnect from, taking the small steps to move forward. There's like a fear of taking action sometimes, of living in the real world, and just, it's safer to live in your head and have the dreams that you have and not really act on them. But this deck can really push you to take those small concrete steps to turn, that dream into a reality. This card, for instance, like I used to always exercise and work out for various reasons, and then I got to a point where I just stopped because it just wasn't doing for me what I needed it to do in that moment. In time, and just that activity died. But then when I tried to kind of like ease myself back into it, but in another way, for instance, walking, I knew that I had to work up my stamina, and I had to practice walking often to build that consistency. I needed to be diligent, and I needed to take small steps to build that up over time. And I told my sister, like, when will I know that I'm ready to kind of do other forms of exercise, like signing up for the gym or classes, stuff like that. She asked, when will I know that I'm ready? And it's when I become disciplined enough to not make excuses, to just walk. If I can commit to just walking and not make excuses to try to get out of it, which I don't. I have a minimum number of times that want to walk a week, for miles and days and all that. And I've broken it down, and it's just starting really small. And so I think this deck kind of helps really bring that down into achievable goals, and in the concrete reality. Reflect, mirror, embody, represent, look back on, think about. So, oh, look at this one here. When we are so focused on bigger, better, faster, more, how can we possibly be right here, right now, content with what is? And yeah, that just about sums up what I was saying. Revel, imperfection, surrender, possibility, ask, listen, gratitude, serendipity, stay, compassion, explore, mystery. So yeah, that is the Heart Speaks Oracle, 49 prompts for loving your life. And because I decided spontaneously to pull a card from that deck, this appears to be more of a self-love reading rather than a romantic love with another person reading. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on this trajectory or path here, and I'm going to expand this question. So the original question was, what do I need right now? And I got the card B. So I think with that, I'm going to use, let's see here, maybe let's use, I keep wanting to say Tarot of Mystical Moments, but that is a very popular deck on YouTube, so maybe I'll go ahead and use the Art Occultist Tarot. And to expand that, I think I'm going to ask, what are some ways that I can practice being? Or what are some ways that I can foster being? What are some ways I can foster being? Some ways that I can foster just being. So I got the Three of Cups. It did come out in reverse, so I will definitely make a note of that as part of that. So I can foster just being. Okay. Also, the Two of Cups sideways. So I think I'm going to stop there. And for me, like the Three of Cups came out in reverse technically. And that is kind of important because sometimes being is not about connecting with others. It's more about connecting with yourself. And it's about taking a break from being with others because for some people, being with others can become a distraction from being with yourself, right? Spending time with others and pouring into others and maybe overlooking how much you've poured into yourself. So with that being said, like how many times did I spend time with other people, whether it's our family and our friends or a significant other, but didn't spend as much time with myself? You know, can I count how many days I spent with myself versus with others? And of course, this can cross over into like a more, toxic place when we tend to people please. You know, we don't want to disappoint anybody, or we think, oh, what's another hour? What's another day of doing this thing with this person? But in a sense, we're kind of taking away from ourselves that ability to just be. In that space of being, we create space for other things to kind of unfold or evolve. One being, for me, learning just how to be allowed me to regain my creativity, regain my time in order to do those walks and kind of build my stamina and start to build my exercise routine. But if I was making excuses to spend time with others, I wouldn't be giving that extra time to myself, or I wouldn't have the energy to. So yeah. Now this card says being means just showing up, willing to sit with yourself, with your situation, and not to do anything except be with it and be in it. So I also see this as kind of being like an observer, maybe not having direct involvement, just being a witness of other people's life and just being there, not having to be involved. So yeah, that's a few ways I see that. What's interesting in this picture is kind of like the blue, this lighter blue color that's cropping up here with the Three of Cups and in the picture of being. And in this card that came with the deck, the Heart Speaks, the blue chakra is about letting go. That's the throat chakra. And I know personally how relevant this is to me, just about reclaiming yourself and just being okay with being yourself and accepting yourself. And sometimes we may be having a great time being with others and sharing that time and space with them. But also, in essence, taking away from ourselves means that maybe we're not being completely 100% of ourselves when those other people are around. There are those people that you can be 100% yourself with. And then there's also people who you can't be 100% yourself because you're kind of prioritizing other people to be themselves and to give them that feeling of specialness by putting the attention on them. So I feel like in just being, we're kind of reclaiming, and we're letting go the expectation to be a little less ourselves so other people have more space to be themselves. And we're exercising our ability to use our voice to express ourselves within our own sphere. And I don't know how to really explain it, but it feels like you can be more yourself when you're by yourself because you get to be 100% your full expression. There's no expectation, there's no obligation, there's no making other people feel special or lift them up over yourself. There's none of that. And so, yeah, that's interesting to me. Let's see here. Oh, the other thing too that I want to just throw in there is we see that here she's wearing a white gown. And white here is taking action. That's the crown chakra, which is on the card from the Heart Speaks. And so what's interesting here is that when we pull back from giving to like our family and our friends, because maybe for a long time we are really used to that, we have that available time and space to give to our significant other. And I know that in my family, it is very common for the women in my family to give all of our time, energy, and space to our siblings, like our sisters. And that's the same for my mom as well, or give it to our parents and have that, like, keep fostering that close connection, especially if you live near, your family. Kind of spend all that time and energy on investing in them, and then at the end of the day not really having enough for your own relationship. And I know that in a lot of instances this could be the reverse. Some people pour all their time and energy in their relationship and maybe not enough in their friends and family, but in my families and in my case it tends to be reversed. And that just has like roots and other various things we could go down the rabbit hole on. But for brevity, I'm going to maybe also do one more, oracle to kind of like sum this up. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this dice here to kind of ask like a what, where, when, why question to see what comes up. So we have a what. And so for what, I'm going to ask something like, what can I do to better shift my focus from giving too much to others and give a little bit more to myself? So what can I do to better shift my focus from giving too much to others and instead give more to myself? So what can I do? And I think how I'm going to do this is I'm going to pull a card from the Goddess Love Oracle using a dice, a number dice. And so this is 1 through 6. 1 through 6. Well, let's just try and see what we get, because I know there's more than 6 cards in this deck here. But that's okay. So I got a 2 anyways. And so I'm going to go ahead and find whatever is the number 2. Okay, and so the question was, what can I do to better shift my focus from giving too much to others and instead give more to myself? And the number 2 card from the Goddess Love Oracle is Live in the Moment, Awakening. And so that is what I can do to shift my focus, is to kind of live in the moment. Because when we live in the moment, when we live in the concrete reality, it allows us to slow down long enough to be more conscious of our patterns and the ways we work against each other, against ourselves, I mean. And then it allows us to be more intentional about how we spend our time and energy. And you can see that she's like holding this flame here, and her other hand is holding the sun. So it's a sort of alchemy process that when we live in the moment, we give to ourselves, and we kind of like take this small ember, this small flame, and we just turn it into something larger for ourselves. Okay, and then last but not least, I will go ahead and pull a few of my charms, because sometimes I like to use these in like a layered reading like this. So let me go ahead and pull and see what I come up with. And I'm closing my eyes to do this. Okay, so I like to see that there's a ladybug on the two of Cups, and the way I would see kind of like the ladybug is of luck and prosperity. And then here on Awakening, we have kite. We have a kite, and we have, is this like a gecko or a salamander? And then this is, so this is, I don't know if you can see this, but it's a guy wearing a cross, carrying a staff. There's something on his shoulder, but I can't quite make out what it is. So I'm gonna guess this is either Hierophant, but for some reason, wise man, you know, three wise men kind of came into the picture. So that would be interesting, because when that first came up as wise man, it's kind of giving me the impression that here we start with the flame and the ember, and through caring for ourselves, we let go with the kite anything that, you know, doesn't really pour into ourselves for the time being. You know, this isn't about monopolizing time to turn ourselves into like self-focus for too prolonged of a time, but it is about letting go of the things that might keep us from spending more time with ourselves. And then interesting that the wise man is here on the sun, which is taking that flame and turning it into something bigger and growing wisdom from that knowledge of giving to ourselves and learning, practicing how to be. And of course, the salamander is a symbol used in the Rider-Waite system as something referring to the flame. Usually salamanders are pretty resilient from fire. So, you know, I don't know too much on the symbolism on that. I could look into it more, but that's what I got so far. And this is sort of my overall impression of, you know, it's interesting. We started this reading with how to love yourself or give love to yourself. And it still included the concept of love with others, you know, in the Two of Cups and the Three of Cups. So it's very interesting. It just kind of came full circle here. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this reading and you enjoyed this episode. It was a lot of fun to do. And it does appear that I might try to do more like theme videos like this, theme concepts, and sort of end with the reading. One thing I didn't do in this video was kind of update you on that coloring tarot deck that I was doing, because I kind of gave that a break. I think I only colored one more card since the last video, so hopefully I can get more cards colored and then I can share more with you. All right. Well, anyways, I hope that, for Valentine's Day, you're kind of giving yourself a little love. You're giving yourself a break. You're nurturing yourself. And you're giving yourself all the love that you need at this point in your life. And if you have someone who can also give that to you, whether it's a family, a friend, a significant other, practice the art of receiving love. That's just as important as giving love. And I wish you a great February, and I'll probably see you whenever I put out my next video. All right, bye.